Hey guys, it's Friday night and we're sitting around my family's table for dinner, and we had a question this week posed to us about what we feel classical music's reputation is today, what we feel it will be in the future, and if something needs to change about classical music and its representation or reputation for the future. And I kind of was watching other people's responses to this and talking to some of my friends, and I realized a lot of my friends, as well as myself, are professional musicians. So I thought that the real reputation of classical music comes from the non-professional musicians. So I decided to open this up to my table of family and friends and see their response on what they feel about this topic. So here we go.
Everybody's quiet.
We had a lot of opinions before.
Well,
What is it?
well, since nobody else is starting, what I was saying earlier today on Facebook was that I think that classical music, the opinion of classical music hasn't really changed that much in maybe the last 100 years. You came back to me saying that, well, the orchestras are all going bankrupt because nobody's supporting them. But is that because people aren't liking classical music as much anymore, or is it because all this music is available on CDs now, whereas orchestras used to be supported because you couldn't get that live music anywhere else? Now you can buy CDs.
Actually, now you can download.
I was going to say you can buy CDs.
I mean, yeah, you can.
I disagree. I think there's a lot more choices now for funding causes as opposed to 100 or 150, 200 years ago. And I think that we're not funding the arts as much. And,
or at all.
And today's billionaires who could afford to fund choose to fund other causes. Like, I'll give you an example. Ted Turner, he funds the United Nations. He could very well fund the arts, and he doesn't. Anne Cox Chambers is another one who doesn't really fund heavily the arts. She does, but not to the caliber of a billionaire should.
Well, then,
I was going to say that we have a big problem with music education in the schools today, and back 40 years ago, many schools had orchestras, and that's how I started. Elementary schools had orchestras, middle schools had orchestras, and now we find that the money issue is such that the first things to go are the music programs in all the schools. So all these kids that would have come up knowing how to play musical instruments and being the future musicians in our society,
Or even appreciating music.
are not there anymore.
Can we talk about maybe the appreciation of music?
They haven't had the
that.
experience.
So they haven't had the experience.
People, many people in society don't see classical music as accessible.
Right.
They don't know how to get it. They don't know when they hear it. They don't know how to appreciate it. It doesn't mean the same as things that they hear their friends talking about. And as Gloria says, and it isn't just in tight economies that we don't fund the arts, but as time has gone on, we've funded the arts less and less, even in good times. 100 years ago,
Well, and the thing also is that for a student to learn music costs a lot of money. So if you're not getting it in a public school, you're having to pay for private lessons or for private classes to learn an instrument or to be in an orchestra. And similar to anything else that costs a lot of money, people are deterred from it because it costs
Extra money.
I think also not just is it not being introduced in schools, but it's not being introduced at home. I mean, we all had the benefit of growing up in a musical household, and most people don't have that benefit. They aren't exposed to classical music from a young age and a variety of classical music. Kessia is my daughter is exposed to classical music on a very regular basis, and she loves it as much as she loves Erykah Badu.
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. But
if it's in the school, it still has the stigma of something I have to do for school. But if it's part of their cultural experience every day, it becomes something exciting.
Do you think that there's a nerdy element to it at all?
Well, I was going to say, the other thing I wanted to say is that it is perceived as an older person's pleasure. And you hear about people coming in from the suburbs to go to the symphony here in Atlanta, but they're all, 50 and above. And it's not like a young, hip thing.
But
And not just that, I think what we keep on mentioning like the defunding of arts programs in schools. I think for one thing is to redefine how do we teach music, and instead of just giving it it's part of the arts program, why not make it a part of the math program? Why not make it part of critical thinking or analysis? Which is all right, exactly.
Right.
But right now, when they're looking to cut, anybody is looking to cut any budget, they're going to look at the arts because it's not reading, writing, arithmetic.
Right.
So
Traditionally
if you can, right, if you can
It's
link
the
it to
fringes
that.
of the curriculum. It's always
Right.
been
Right.
sort of the fringes.
You have quantitative reasoning in music. So I think
And
that it can link it.
I think
or something like
that's
that.
the way that all the arts really need to be approached right now, as far as public schooling is concerned.
I think as an aside, as soon as something is deemed fun or cool, there's a resurgence of it. So right now in our economy, it's coupons, right? So growing up, coupons was a parent thing, a parent thing or an old person thing, and now our generation with all of the online availability of coupons as well as the economy at the same time, but it's become cool to use coupons, right? So anything that at some point is uncool for whatever reason has a resurgence as long as the right people decide that it's popular.
So what we need is okay. So
Thank you all for participating. Oh, Cassia.
you can edit this, right?
Okay, we're ready.
I love classical music.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for participating, and say goodbye to the internet public.